Yeah, I told you. There she is.
1 minute to spare.
Perfect. It's 6 o'clock. We'll start our Gridley City Council special meeting Monday, January 23rd at 6 p.m. in Gridley City Hall at 685 Kentucky Street, Gridley, California. We have roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Present.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Parr,
Here.
Councilmember Calderon,
Here.
Councilmember Roberts,
Here. And Councilperson Sanchez.
Yeah. Please stand. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Introduction to new or promoted employees. Even none. Community members of the public may address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. The city council may not discuss nor take action on any community participation item brought forward by a member of the community. Comments are requested to a limit of 3 minutes. No, nobody.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I have received a comment in writing from a resident, Patrick Coughlin. This deals with item 6, and once we get to that point, I'll give more specifics at that time.
Okay, good. We'll move to consent agenda. Any objections to the consent agenda? If not, ask for a motion. I'll move to approve. Second. Been moved and approved. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Mayor Parr,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Okay, we'll move to item number 6, site development plan. Number 4. Excuse me, number 4. Can't count.
Evening, council, mayor, Jake Harden, your city engineer. I don't think we've met Jim. So item number 4 here, today is the Gridley Sports Complex Phase 1, the RRT grant. We have been notified that we were successful with the $3 million grant. We presented that back in August. I was unaware that when we got that notification, we could start incurring costs against that grant. So we haven't done anything yet to date with the design of the soccer fields out at the industrial park. But I have been made aware that we can incur those costs. They're all reimbursable. So before you today is the scope and fee to proceed with the design. The engineering would manage the project and create fields, do the design for that. We have got subs on for irrigation, for planting. And then we also included in the scope the construction management. So once we get out to bid, get through that process, we would bring in a construction management firm to then finish construction. So that way we'll be able to put staff with that extra effort there. So the background's there. There's not really a lot to discuss because we presented the plan to you. We'll move forward as we would get through, the design phases, we get it to 60%, we could bring it back. And then at that point, present it to the council and the public where we kind of assume all the pieces would fit, kind of like we had in our conceptual plan, and then move forward to the design or to the bidding and construction. As of right now, we're looking at construction in 2024. It would be a really hard push to try and get all of this designed by this construction season. So that's the plan. We do need it wrapped up by the end of 2024. So we're going to push the contractor to get it all done in a year, which should be doable. It's not a very complicated design and construction. And by 2025, we should have soccer fields. Any questions?
I have a question. So there's nothing that you can do as far as in this year?
Well, we have to get through the design and actually get it on paper. So in order to get all of that worked out, we've got to get the grading done. We're making the pond slightly bigger so we can actually fit the fields in there. We've got utilities that all, need to be removed. But we really don't want to burden staff with that. We don't want to go out to bid on multiple contracts. So the idea is to get the whole design, get it packaged up so a contractor can just come fit it. It makes it simple to manage and then also get reimbursed. If we start piecemealing it, it's going to get, you'll spend more time in managing the project than you would just have a package. Right, go with it. So yeah, it's all paperwork right now, the design efforts that we will be doing. We would probably have it done, I would think like September, but being that it's a detention pond, we obviously don't want to go start construction. We might get rain, and that's why it's, if the weather is cooperable, we can actually bid it in the fall, and then the contractor, we can have the contractor queued up to start construction as soon as weather's permitting.
So do we know the measurements and how big that pond needs to be?
Yeah, we have some rough estimates, but I mean, we got to get in and actually do the fine, the actual grading of it so that a contractor can bid the project. So we'll have a,
Because that would be nice to have that done this year, that part of it.
again, it's kind of piecemealing it because the grading and the removal of those facilities, I mean, I would have to go out to bid for that. And then we would then it just doesn't, contracting doesn't really work that way, especially when it's government money and public, prevailing wage and all that contracting stuff. So we'll get a better deal for it in essence, if it's all one package and it's not, a little piece.
So you'd have one contractor do the whole project, you wouldn't sub it out or anything like, or
We
make
would
it.
likely have subcontractors, so there would be a general contractor that maybe does all the grading work. Usually they do about 50% of the work, and then they'll probably have an irrigation sub that just does all the sprinkler systems. Somebody else.
That's on the contractor though, not a.
Yeah, so we just package it, so it's all one lump sum, well, it's not one lump sum, but it's one package so that they get a bid and we can select the lowest responsible bidder. And then that also makes it easier for the reimbursement process because we have to submit these, these invoices to the state. State takes a while to reimburse and then project closeout and all that stuff. So if we start piecemealing it, then we've got multiple, different prime contractors that we have to manage it.
I guess maybe that was maybe I was worried about, is there gonna be a compaction? Or are we gonna have to pack that once that's done?
No, and they have equipment to do whatever compaction we do need.
Right.
I mean, it's already pretty much graded, but there will definitely be some fine grading and they'll have all the compaction that goes in there. We're gonna put a little trench drain down the middle of it with a little sump pump. So we've got to design all that and size it and so that way, if it does rain, we don't have a lot of water sitting on the field. We can actually wait for the peak of the storm to go away and then we would pump the water out at that point so that we still maintain our discharge requirements for,
The meter.
the meter discharge, but then we can actually, within a couple of days, we can get the water out of the root zone of the grass so that, we don't have to replant the next year.
Okay.
Wait, so Well, just to recall then the plan, so then we are utilizing the retention pond as a field.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any concern, because obviously I'm not an engineer of it, you know, just kind of creating like a sinkhole in a way where if there is a lot of water, I know you mentioned there's gonna be drainage, but. I mean,
No, I mean, it's graded right now to drain, naturally drain, and so, and we mentioned the metered, so it allows a certain amount of water out at a time, so if we get a big storm and it fills up. The water starts going out at a certain rate, it's a little faster when it's full, as it gets lower, it slows down. So by adding this little sump pump there, we can just make sure that it gets off, it's not sitting there for weeks at a time, but no, it shouldn't sink or anything like that, you know, when it's all said and done, it should hold up through.
Yeah.
You know. The bond.
Cause I think we had some issues with that being too deep at this point. Have we corrected that?
So that was a bust by the contractor that FEMA had hired. They had used the wrong datum on our survey.
Sure.
So they actually excavated it down an extra 2 feet, and then they had to bring in 30,000 yards of material.
Also, they did correct it.
That's their problem, yeah, because the pond wouldn't have worked had.
Yeah.
Had they not corrected it, so yeah, that was big.
did you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know, this might be for Lisa. On payment, we'll get invoice from the contractor and then we go to the state to get reimbursed. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, so it's a reimbursement process.
So we'll have a period there that we'll be eating it for a while, huh?
Yeah, so basically the city fronts those payments and then we process them. With the parks program, there can be a little bit longer delay in those reimbursements than with like the water board. They kind of like to see maybe 3 or 4 of them throughout the project. So there will be a little extension of funds there, but it is all reimbursable.
Yeah, as long as we're not charged interest on that lapse time.
Yes, so that.
Well, we're gonna pay them up front anyway, I guess, right?
Yeah, so we pay the contractor and then,
I think the only time you'll run into problems is if we don't complete the project within the required time limit, then we don't get reimbursed. As we ask for an extension.
yeah, and again, we don't have a contract yet, but I haven't seen that anywhere.
Okay.
They,
That's
they want,
something-
they want people, I mean, unless we just pull up and say
Well-
we're not gonna complete it,
Yeah.
but they're really, especially the Parks Department, they're really good advocates for small communities and really wanna see these projects be successful. So I don't,
So there's no expiration on this.
I mean, they want the project completed by the end of 2024 or January 2025.
Okay.
So yes, they want that completion there. So
We need to meet that is what I'm saying.
and yeah, that's why we're here today. I wish I would have been here in September when I got out.
And that,
And we would have been moving forward, but again, I don't see this being like a multi-year construction project. We're not out.
well, let's hope not.
Yeah,
But I mean, are we concerned because of supply chain issues? Is that gonna impact any of the materials that we need? And if so, have you flagged that for the state that is there an exemption or flexibility if that were the case for us?
I've always found that there's flexibility with just at this, these levels of funding agency. I mean, they're aware of these supply chain issues as well. I don't foresee that being a problem here. We're not getting anything super fancy. We're not buying, pumps that are custom built, made to order. So I just don't see that being a big issue at this time.
As long as who the contractor is gonna get the job completed, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. And we've got some pretty good contractors in the neighborhood that have already showed interest in the project, so I'm pretty confident we'll get some good bids.
I have some more questions on that. So for the construction or contractor / construction management, under this resolution, would we give you the authority to select and go to bid and to choose that contractor, or would the council be able to still vote on that?
For the construction management,
Yeah,
so
or the contractor too, right? Because you're not,
for the contractor to do the construction, we would go out to bid. And we're required to hire the responsible low bidder as a public agency. So we would get those bids, we go through them, we make sure that they're responsive, and that means meeting the criteria in the specifications. Things like being registered with Department of Industrial Relations, carrying the right insurance, things like that. So once we've determined that we have a responsive low bidder, then we would bring that back to council as a recommendation to hire them. And then it's up to council to authorize the city administrator to execute the contract. As far as the construction manager, that is usually a sub for us. At this time, the guy that we've used in Gridley quite a bit, he's on the verge of retirement. He's like, that's kind of far out. So I'm not really willing to, say yes. So let's talk, at the end of 2023 and see where we're at. So we put a placeholder in there. Typically, we would hire a firm that would fit within what we're looking for. It's somewhat, of a niche with being a park and, it's not a typical public works, put pipe in the ground. So, we would basically kind of look, and it could just be that we do it for the city, we're doing the plans. So at that point, we can bring it back, but this contract basically kind of leaves it open-ended for us to hire somebody to come and do the construction.
Just a last question. So I know in the staff report, it mentions all pre-construction dollars are eligible for reimbursement. So under that, would you say that Bennett Engineering could reimburse themselves for even applying for this grant and like dollars and staff kind of used for that?
So only dollars that were incurred after August 18th, 2022. So we did all of that work in November through January, or maybe it was September through January 2021. So those dollars are not reimbursable. So it's only any work that we've done since August. And we've done a little bit of work here and there. And so I've kind of kept that in its own pot so we can get reimbursed under this. So
Thank you.
yeah, those pre-construction dollars are for the design and administration of the grant and those things.
Any other comments? No. Any comments from the public?
None here.
So we need to vote on this, correct? I hear a motion.
I'll make the motion.
One second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Farr.
Yes. Okay, move to item number 5. Public Works Design Construction, standard details and specific update.
But I'm gonna introduce this if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Mr. Harden and our engineers are bringing this forward in response to some of the challenges that we experienced, having recognized and identified some need for significant updates within our building standards that we follow. Obviously, we are under state mandate to provide housing and to grow our housing inventory, which then means we have to engage the process of the construction of that housing and do it to standards. Unfortunately, our building standards portfolio it's been updated over the years on an ad hoc basis. And we recently undertook, I think it was in October or November, to make a piecemeal installment on an update with respect to monolithic curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. It was appropriate, it was necessary, but what is more appropriate now is a comprehensive update of the entire document. And that's what brings us here today, because what we're looking for is coherence within the document and a set of building standards that pave the way to enabling the city to meet its obligation for housing inventory. And Dave is our subject matter expert in this area. And as we discussed back in, I believe it was November, We wanted him to bring this forward for the update, and that brings us to where we are.
So, yeah, so what we've put together is our, a scope that kind of outlines the different, areas that we need to update. Obviously, it's the whole thing, but they're broken down into sections. And what we did here, instead of, by breaking it into the tasks that we have, we've sectioned it out into our general fund, our enterprise funds, because each one of them has their own set of standards, right? But they do all have to be cohesive. So what the goal here was to allow the finance department to take our invoice and be able to bill the enterprise funds for those standard updates, so we can spread the cost out among your different accounts. So we've got some general standards that go in the beginning. This is kind of heavy on the specification side of things. We want to define what we want to see from the developers, what size plans, what needs to be included in those plans, survey records, title reports, a lot of the things that we also put in the conditions of approval. But the idea of having them in the standards is that somebody can look at our standards and know what to expect to see when they are getting ready to do development. We also have the water specific standards. These have, some of the things we'll be seeing are some of the updates for fire meters, irrigation meters, backflow preventers, those type of things that are always evolving with industry, changes. The drainage system, that still falls under the general fund account with like streets and stuff, but it's a hot topic in Gridley. So we'll be developing some standards so that folks will know exactly what they need to design to, so that we can get plan checks through easier. Also, some of the new technologies that are out there, we want to make sure that we incorporate those into the Gridley standards, so that if there's something out there that can reduce a footprint, then we're ready to be able to accept those. We've got the street standards in there. This is kind of like the curb, gutter, sidewalk, but it also has cross sections to define where we want to see public utility easements and right of ways, what size streets we're looking for in some of our neighborhoods. And we do have some of those, but again, to have a coherent set that matches with what we're presenting in the curb, gutter, sidewalks and all of those things. Electrical standards, I know we worked with your electric department. Right now we have some standards in there, and we just want to bring those up to speed. A lot of them will reference probably PG&E or whatever the electric department references, but again, we just make that part of these standards so that when somebody comes on, they know exactly what kind of wire they're going to be ordering, what kind of poles or lights, or how we want the foundation built for those lights. And then we also have the sewer standards. May have skipped over that one, but wastewater. And so just bringing all that up to date, type of pipe that we use, manholes, they all change, been changing with technologies. You can now get precast stuff, and so that's how we've laid out the scope and fee here. As you can see in the staff report, there's going to be about 107 details when we put them all together. So, that's kind of how we came up with our estimate, what the cost was going to be. We've got the specification side of things, which is probably about a 50-page manual to go along with the 107 details that we see that we're going to. Any questions?
I have a question, Dave. We're going to upgrade to the standards. Where do the upgrades come from? I mean, I don't know. Let's pick one. For example, these sidewalks that we put in, that was an upgrade. What determined what that was? I mean, who's telling us what the new upgrade is? What I'm trying.
So we do some research through some of the other local agencies. You look at Chico, you look at Sacramento, you look at the city of Roseville, you look at some of the other agencies that I think I mentioned back in November. Every 5 years, city of Sacramento is spending something like $500,000 to upgrade their standards. City of Roseville, I'm sure, is doing the same, because they're just like every couple of years they're doing some kind of update. So we look at some of those entities, and for lack of a better term, we basically steal what they're doing and say, and bring it into the Gridley standard, because it's kind of across the board, they're following the industry standards. Now, City of Roseville, they kind of like everything gold plated, so we might not gold plate everything because we want to make it reasonable. But that's kind of, that's how we find the most up to date. And we've got, we do a lot of design work as well at Bennett, both in the water, wastewater, and in the streets. So like our streets, we look a lot at Caltrans standards, right? But we've got some specialty stuff here in town. So, our gutter pans aren't quite what they want, or doing out on the highway, or and anyway, you kind of get the point.
Yeah, what I was trying to allude to is, sure, the city of Roseville's gonna do it one way and the city of whoever's gonna do it another way. So we're looking at them, seeing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which is good, but shouldn't it be tailored to what Gridley needs?
100%. And that's why we work closely with Public Works, because they're the ones out here maintaining it.
Yeah.
So every time we have, we come up with a set of standards, Public Works looks at it first, right? So we'll do a draft, we'll review it with them, and might make some changes. One of the big things that I see a lot of different agencies where they have their kind of nuances is like trench backfill. Some people like pea gravel, some people like sand, others are like, oh, we just want native, so it comes down to what does the agency like to work with. So those are the kind of things that we definitely bring back to public.
Well,
That we're on the same page.
Isn't these standards also gonna be something that the new contractors coming in are gonna have to adjust to?
Yes.
And I go look back to the sidewalk thing, that's the one that caused a little bit of dust up around here over that one. Are we gonna be able to have standards that these contractors can deal with that also benefits us?
If I can be responsive to that, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I just met with Mike Vizzanoni and Dino. The final product should be a collaborative product. It should be a process that includes council member input by way of a working sessions or study session, if you will. Whereby the initial work that's done by Bennett is brought in, reviewed, and not only in consultation with our sister agencies throughout the region, but also with those people who are actually doing the work here in our community, that is our contractors and council. That should be a collaborative process. And this is not a one and done. It's really not fast. But it absolutely needs to reflect the priorities of the community and its leadership.
So I would think the contractors, as they come in, hypothetical, on our new standards, they're gonna go through that and read what the Gridley expects of them.
Yes.
And they're gonna have to either sign off on that and agree to do it that way, or come before us and you to make an addendum to that.
Yes.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, you are. And so one other comment though is the other plan here is to bring this in pieces so that you can digest it, right? So we would bring the draft to council and have a public meeting, and we can make it an informational one, and the public is invited to that and make comment. We post it to an agenda, so it's out there, and we encourage people to come up with questions. That's where we vet a lot of these issues that might come up. With that would be the ideal place, right? Is to have people come, make their comments, we take them, we finalize, we bring it back to council and have you guys accept them as the new standard. Now, when a developer comes in, and if they have an exception to one of our standards, then they can present that during their planning, their tentative map, or some kind of plan review, and we can look to make exceptions to those standards. But the idea here is that it is just that it's an exception on a once in a while, because there's some site condition that doesn't allow for those standards, but not having a set of standards that is always being deviated from. We want it to be built a certain way. So that's kind of the point there. And there's always those site-specific exceptions that could develop something.
Okay, but before one shovel of dirt has been turned, the contractor should know what we want as our standards. And he has to agree to that. Always subject to change if some weird thing comes up.
And they do that now. I mean, when they sign off that they're gonna build in the city of Gridley, they sign off that they're gonna build it to our standards, so. That's just part of how this works.
Other than
Our city,
the problem with the sidewalks, which we got corrected.
they actually signed off that they would build it the way we wanted, that our standards were, and then they said. They missed that that's how it was presented, and, you know, they should have changed it, but he signed off on it, they signed off on it, their engineer signed off on it. So we thought we were all on the same page, that they were gonna build it that way.
We were good guys. We helped them out a little bit.
I have a question. This is maybe a little bit off. When developers come into town, I think one of the issues that I've seen and Mike may have seen. Is the water districts and the canal districts are waving, saying, hey, wait a minute, you haven't approached us. Maybe not that we have to, or they have to. But I think maybe they should be involved in at least being notified. If there is a development going in, only because I see problems, don't you?
Yeah, that was my next topic.
Okay, all right.
We can go.
From you, I guess. So if we can, is this part of something that at this level that we would introduce something like that? Or should we introduce something like that?
So these standards are primarily directed to what happens within the public right of way. You know, these are public facilities. From my experience, the the irrigation districts and the drainage districts aren't on these properties. They're not in our city right away. They are adjacent to them. Yes, we share a boundary. I can speak from my part. I've tried to work with them and get approvals for plans and send their comments back to developers, and the process is slow. And so ideally with these standards, specifically to the drainage, right? The irrigation districts are their own kind of entity. But the drainage is specific because what we do on each individual site impacts the drainage in the city and the region. And so these specific standards are going to be designed to meet the criteria of the drainage districts. We fully intend on having conversations and that mutual agreement that Gridley standards are going to meet your drainage requirements, so that ideally we don't have to go get their permission every time somebody wants to design, because they're designing it to our standards. Our engineers are saying, yep, it meets the standards that they agreed upon. We can move forward with the project.
I think the main thing is just the right of ways and where they're at. And just, I mean, looking at some of the tentative maps or whatever out there back here, there's some issues that are gonna come up. I can just feel it right now, right? Right?
Is it an easement?
Yeah.
Right away. Parcel.
Yeah, and that's gonna be that's gonna be time consuming.
Yeah, and I will say that some of those issues that may have come up recently because of past procedures, we can try to address.
Okay.
You know, the recording of maps, the title reports, you know, getting all of that squared away before you go start digging next to, you know, the canal. That'd be a really good thing to do, right? And make sure that we've got all the signatures and everybody's signed off. One of the things we run into though is developers want to move real fast, and the speed of approvals are not always real fast.
No,
You know?
but if we move too fast. And, you know, seems that it gets slowed down for, you know, reasons that we could have probably prevented at the beginning, I think we need to pay a little attention to that.
Yeah. Just one example, and not to elaborate too much, but one of the things I would like to put in the standards is that when developers go out and they do technical investigations, they do it when there's water in the canals, because the depth of groundwater is directly impacted when there's water in the canals. And so they say, oh, groundwater is not, it's 10 feet down, but you come back when there's water in that canal, and now it's only 3 or 4 feet down. That's gonna change how you
Sure.
construct. So a few of those little things that we could put in our details and say, did you do your geotech when there was water? Show me that, it's flowing. That could save a lot of headache for a lot of people. Right? We're not putting sewer pipes in a trench that's full of water. Because now we know that it's there and we can require them to do it the proper way to put a pipe in the ground when there's water in the trench. So, and there's specific details that go along with that. So they can protect your pipes and they don't sag and for sewer projects.
And I learned that back when they did the construction that went down Sycamore Street. Where they replaced the sewer pipes. This was like 2008, maybe?
I wasn't here then.
Yeah, 2007, 2008. I thought, why they're trenching, but they're pumping water out of these trenches. Well, I realized that you can dig a 6-foot hole and probably hit water in Gridley.
Yeah, there's a perched aquifer or a perched aquifer here in Gridley. We see this in a lot of places. Where there's a clay layer, so the water seeps out of the trench or the canals. And just kind of sits on top of that hard pan, right? And so you hit that perched groundwater. It's not the groundwater you're drinking.
No.
Because that's, a couple hundred feet in the ground, but it is there. A good example of where this was a big problem was when FEMA was constructing out there. They were going pretty deep. They hit water. It was $1 million change order because the way that you construct the pipes is you wrap it in gravel and put fabric around it, and that keeps the water flowing in the trench underneath the pipe instead of washing out all the fines and causing the sag. So when they hit that groundwater, we said, you're putting our pipe in the ground. We have to own this afterwards. You better build it right. And so, it cost them, it cost them about a week of construction, but it cost them $1 million to go and add all that to the design. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to avoid having a contractor run into during, when they get that surprise and they're like, I didn't budget for, this big change order that's required and it's in the standards, but they didn't know that the groundwater is gonna be there. We could have told them that, or they could have found out if they just, paid attention. Geotech.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have.
Dave, I've been on one irrigation district, Big West Gridley, and I've talked quite a bit with Butte Water District. Now, the concern mainly is have an easement to get in to clean those irrigation ditches. Because there's water comes down those ditches all spring and summer, and that's the lifeblood of this community.
Right.
And if they don't have the ability to go in and clean those ditches out, they'll back up. And cause damage in the subdivisions that they're building around it. I mean, there's not a problem that I can see with irrigation districts with development. It's just being able to get down that canal and clean it when they need to. And I think that is one of the priorities when these contractors or developers come in, that we work around those needs for the drainage and the irrigation district. Because that is a must. We got to be able to keep that water flowing down those ditches.
So from what I've seen in doing my little bit of investigation into like the parcels, if you look at a parcel map of the city, there's specific parcels identified for irrigation ditches and drainage ditches. What I can tell is probably the 80s that all of those were easements on properties and it was split out so that they had their own parcels. Some of them are 30 feet wide, some of them are 60 feet wide. And everything I could tell was that they did that so that they would have those accesses. If you look at most of them, there's some kind of drive aisle down the side of them. And I would think you could get a piece of equipment down there, and that's why they're.
Yeah, that's all they're really,
They are,
that's all they're interested in, is having enough.
but they already own that property.
Yeah, if they do. But there's been some discussion on the Orchard 1, Orchard 2 one where they were worried about having an easement. I don't know how that's resolved or even it is yet, but.
And I don't know that it is either, and some of those are property line,
I just think
where the boundaries are, but I still don't know how the city gets involved with determining where that boundary is and then conditioning a landowner to deed it to another entity.
However you split it out, the main problem or point is that those drainage and irrigation districts have to be able to clean those canals. If needs be, no matter what built the Empire State Building around, as long as they got room to come down and clean that canal out. If not, we're gonna have troubles. That's what I'm getting at. Now, maybe they already have it, I don't know. But that every time there's a new development, that should be looked at to see if that's gonna be a problem. See what I'm trying to say?
I just don't know where how the city, and this is not my expertise, I defer to others in the room about how the city. Incentivizes or, puts that on a developer. In my opinion, it's gonna stop a lot of development. From what I've heard that this,
Well,
that the
if they
districts
can't
don't
clean
wanna
it.
haul their material out, they wanna just throw it on next to the bank. Well, if that was my property, I don't want your garbage on my property, right? Like, that's your garbage, haul it out,
Yeah.
just like I would have to do. So I don't know where the city's line is there, and that's something for you guys to discuss and probably bring in your partners with the irrigation districts and the drainage districts to have those discussions on how do we work together to make this happen.
That's very important. Donna, do you have an input on that?
Yes, I could add a little bit, I think, what you're discussing right now is the public works specifications and standards, which is a little bit far afield of this question that you have related to easements and right of ways and property ownership of the canals, the water district and the irrigation, irrigation districts. Those are actually on, really, those are almost case by case basis.
Yeah.
In terms of a planning and engineering review, which if there is an issue, it would certainly come to the planning commission. Those items would be discussed. We work closely. We try to work really closely with the engineers and the general managers of those agencies. As Dave indicated, some of those right of ways or property ownerships parcels that are owned in fee. It's assumed, if you will, that they created those with adequate area to access their roads. And if you look on Google Earth, it kind of looks like it, but we still have those conversations. Do they have enough room? And then what can we do to help in a collaborative manner to meet the needs of those districts? But it's really a project by project consideration. It's not really an area where you can create a standard, if you will.
No, I agree, and it has to be each development, each one that we look at. I think it's just very important that we look at that as these new developments come in to make sure that we're not going to cause a problem with the drainage or the irrigation district. Maybe won't be any problem, and it's already resolved, but I think that conversation should be done in the process of new developments.
And probably what council will start hearing from some of the agencies, as you did with not this council, but in the past. For example, with Eagle Meadows, I'm sure Councilmember Johnson recalls that they actually deeded and in fee the RD 833 canal to the city of Gridley. And so there's probably going to be more conversation, more just policy discussions of what we do with the canals, with projects as they come forward to the council as well.
As long as it's not overlooked, that's my issue.
And I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
How long before this is done?
So the idea is to piecemeal it and one, so that, I can manage it with the workload that we have with all these other projects and what's going on, but also so that it can be digested a little bit at a time. It is a big undertaking. I would, if I have to guess at it, I'm thinking it's probably in the 6 to 8 month range to get through most of these.
All right.
I think for me, something that jumped out was obviously the 6-figure cost. I understand that it's a huge undertaking. So then I think that the fee estimate in Exhibit B, then based off of what you just said, is not entirely accurate unless, because this is, I think, only allotted for 480 hours, which come out to about 3 months worth of work if you're doing 40 hours a week. So
it won't be 40 hours. That's why I said managing it with all of the other projects that I have.
So it would be like, say, 10 or 20 hours and then spaced out towards a longer period of days or weeks. Okay, and then, why is it that for street standards, it's about a 21, it's about 150 hour allocation versus for water, drainage, wastewater, it's about 85 hours?
So that comes down to the number of details that are in that section of standards. So we broke this down, assuming it comes out to about $1,000 per standard, right, or per detail. Again, that's just kind of an estimate to get, ballpark it. So at 107 details, and it's $110,000, it's right in that range. So when you have more details, it would take more time. So that's really the only reason.
Great, thank you.
Any more comments? Any comments from the public?
None here.
Do we have a motion to approve this?
I'll motion to approve, the task order 16-607-600.
One second.
Been approved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yeah.
Mayor Farr,
Yeah.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Okay, hold on, approved. We'll move to item number 6, site development. Deborah?
Yes. I'd like to just walk through the title of this site development plan review. There's actually 4 approving bodies with this project. The council's responsibility is legislative, which is resolution 2023 R001, which is a general plan amendment from industrial to commercial, and approval of the mitigated negative declaration. And the second action legislative for the council is ordinance number 843, which is an application to rezone 3 parcels that are part of this project from industrial, heavy industrial to general commercial. The other 2, the site development plan review 122, is actually a decision-making body by the planning commission, and that went in November 16th. And then the lot merger of 2 of the 3 parcels before you for the general plan amendment and rezone is a merger of 2 parcels for the site development plan in its entirety. So these other 2 items, site development plan review 122 and the lot merger, you can certainly take action if you wish, but they're for your information, if you will, that we would be able to enlighten the council as to why this action and this request for general plan amendment and rezone is before you. So it's for continuity and not to separate them and piecemeal them, so it all comes together to you. So I would also like to correct one of number 3 and 4 of the staff recommendation where it says approved site development plan review. It has been approved by the planning commission, and the merger of 2 existing parcels, the word approve should not be there. It would be support the merger or something like that, where staff will actually do that through a certificate of compliance. It's a staff level review with engineering, surveying, and myself. That's then recorded with Butte County. So on 3 and 4, you would, if you were to take the action, you would and support the general plan amendment for the project and the rezone, then you would accept the planning commission's decision, unless there's changes that you would certainly welcome to make more amendments to the conditions of approval, if you will. Carly, can you put the PowerPoint on? It's a little bit easier to see. So this slide shows the location, which is a corner of West Liberty and Highway 99 at the very terminus, the very end of that heavy industrial site. And in the past, it's been utilized for storage of various equipments and containers and so forth. And now the proposal is to come forward with a fueling station, a coffee shop, a car wash, and a truck fueling station as well. And I'll show you those images as well. So on the project site is shown on the general plan, and then it is also likewise shown for the zoning on the other side. Could you go to the next slide? This is the site plan that the planning commission reviewed. There'll be merging, there's a dashed line towards the upper third or upper fourth that you see across. That's the delineation of the parcel that will be merged with the southerly parcel, creating the approximately 3 acre site. The long lines at the very top, those are truck fueling stations for tractor semis that will come in. There's 4 fueling stations that they fuel from both sides. I learned a lot about trucks with this project. And then they'll be entering, heading southbound at the most northerly portion. And also if they're headed northbound, traffic would also enter. Caltrans had an opportunity to look at this site plan, and originally the entry was on the original parcel, and this most northerly to be merged parcel was not a part of it. Caltrans looked at it and said, gee, we want to restrict some of the access points so that if there's a possibility, please move that more northerly, in a more northerly position so that it could be shared. And then you would have full turning movement from northbound and southbound into the site.
Okay.
Vehicles will then have the opportunity either to exit from that same location, or they can go down, the trucks could go down through to the southerly location, which is off of West Liberty at the southwest corner. I don't know if you can.
Get rid of that.
I don't know if that bar can be removed or something where you can be.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so that you can see the driveway location, and then the sort of the oval that's just north of West Liberty Road. That's a coffee kiosk with a drive-through, 2-lane drive-through, which is also has parking in front of the unit for EV handicapped as well, or disabled parking for EV stations. The convenience market is located just centrally located with the car wash to the west side, and also has charging stations as well as parking. And then through on the easterly side where you see a big rectangle, that's a fueling station for automobiles of 16 slots there. The project will have curb gutter and sidewalk along the frontage, and it will have landscaping throughout the site as well, irrigation as well. There may be some modification for the curb return that exists there now. You can see the pedestrian crosswalks that are from that. When you look at it on Google Earth and you see some of the aerials, it looks just a little bit off, but we'll be working, of course, with Caltrans for the encroachment permit on that particular issue, and those standards would be applied to this. Can you go to the next slide? This is a rendering of what the convenience market would look like. It's attractive, it's modern, it has nice lighting. It provides a good signage. The sign permit hasn't been submitted yet for this project. But it shows an example of what it will look like. It won't look exactly like this, but this is very good rendering of what the plans indicate, which were also a part of your packet. Next slide. The question that the traffic engineer had related to exiting for trucks onto West Liberty were that it would be limited to non-STAA trucks, which are larger and require larger turning radii. And so we requested Katie Anderson to provide, well, the city requested the engineer, and then they requested this detail to be provided. So currently, the driveway is only about 45 feet in width for ingress and egress from West Liberty. This detail shows what would be required for an increased driveway pan to accommodate STAA trucks. The city would be the lead agency in applying for that, but all of the work to do that would be from the applicant in order to do that. And I believe that there's an interest in doing that. The same would occur on the north entry off of if you can go back to the site plan, the north entry on that corner would also be increased. So there may be some future modifications if they can get STAA trucks. One of the concerns was, would there be traffic conflicts of large trucks coming in and autos leaving when the radius for trucks coming in is so much larger? So those are construction drawing issues, and then also the STAA, but it's been conditioned to take a look at that. And if they wish to go in that direction, then the city to date has supported that idea. You can go back down to Is that the last slide that I have? Possibly. Yep, it is. That's the last slide. So the action before you is a general plan amendment, from, pardon?
You're done.
Yes, okay. Yeah, you can go back to the site plan or to the general plan action at the top. So that's really the action that the city council is looking at in order to support the site development plan review that the planning commission has approved. And they recommended in their action that the city council approve the general plan amendment and rezone for the project and the mitigated negative declaration. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Excuse me. So if they don't do where all the trucks can come out on West Liberty, is there room for them to turn around to come back out on the highway, or is it, looking at it, it doesn't look like there's room? Or
They have actually done circulation analyses on the site so that they can get a truck. Currently, the way the 45-foot pans are, trucks can enter and exit and make those turning movements. It's the STAA, which is a different type of truck. And I'm not I'm not fully versed in the criteria, but they need a much larger turning area.
Yeah.
So the pan would be 45 feet unless they went to they did get the acceptance for an STAA.
so on the north side of where the truck pumps are,
Yes,
if an STAA truck came in, would it be able to circle? Is there a way for it to circle around and go back out to the highway?
Yes, okay, you're, instead of going back behind there, you're asking if they can turn around in that.
Yeah, can they go, if they're coming in, can they turn around to the north and get back out on the highway, or?
yes.
Okay.
That's, I was thinking the same thing. How am I gonna do that? But that drawing, you know.
So that wouldn't be a one-way then. I mean, they could come in, circle around and go right back out on the north end.
Correct,
Or they'd have the alternative to come down to the south and go out on West Liberty.
correct.
Would they be able to come in on West Liberty?
Yes,
Okay, so it's either or.
yes.
Okay.
And the traffic study analyzed the truck movements, and that was the differentiation where these two types of trucks that are allowed on state highways. And so West Liberty is a section that is not, Highway 99 is for an STAA truck. And they're quite, they do look for those trucks turning in the wrong areas, I guess. Caltrans does, they really do. So it's important, if they wish to have that service, then they would need to go through the process of making West Liberty, this section, STAA truck acceptable by the state.
I'm just looking for my previous job, you know,
Yeah.
the headache of a truck going in where it shouldn't have, and now all of a sudden roads are blocked and nightmare.
Not being a truck driver, what's an SDA truck?
Pardon?
Not being a truck driver, what's an SDA truck? What's that?
It's a bigger truck. It's a bigger,
Doubles?
yes, I think. I don't really know, and
Taylor?
That should haul rice in a set of doubles like that, or is it?
probably, maybe the engineer might know because he has done, who is here this evening during the public or to answer questions.
How did it be?
I actually did try to research it and I asked lots of questions and I didn't get very far. So I apologize for not having that.
Trying to set of doubles in that corner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
So the conditions of approval cover that the applicant has the opportunity to make West Liberty, that we would support it. They do the work and we would support it. It would come to council and so forth and so on. With that, I think that they've done a great deal of work. They have analyzed it. They've worked with the traffic engineer looking at those driveway widths and the pans. They're overly large than what our standards typically are, but these are accesses into and from Caltrans, which they would then be, I'm assuming, would be in their standards because it's a Caltrans standard for those trucks. And again, the initial study and the traffic analysis did point out one area of concern, and that was cyclists and pedestrians moving westerly towards the industrial park. So there is a recommendation to have a pedestrian, asphalt pedestrian bikeway from this property to Independence. We've looked at that and through conversations, and we haven't done an in-depth analysis, but working with UPRR and those, and the amendments that would be needed would constitute a project of about $1 million to get that crossing changed, because there's also elevation and grade changes that the tracks are up high and where the pedestrian is lower. So there's quite a bit of effort and work, and it's cost prohibitive for one project to do that. So the traffic analysis has indicated that the city may have an interest in creating this access in the future and keeping it in mind that it's a necessary thing to do from a commercial development into the industrial park. And it could be that the city council would contemplate some type of traffic mitigation fee specific to this area in order to ease that particular conflict that may arise. And that's a different discussion. It certainly is outlined in the initial study it's discussed, and it's in the traffic study it's discussed, and the potential mitigation measures are discussed as well in that document, but it has not been made a condition of approval to this project to make that crossing because it is so cost prohibitive and really addresses more properties than just this one project.
This is, I think, a really smart idea in terms of doing something to better enhance, that entrance into our town. I think for me, Liberty Road is part of my daily commute, and I just wanted to share that I have significant concerns about that West Liberty entrance there. Just as you mentioned, the tracks are elevated, so it's already a concern when you're approaching going westbound towards the highway. And if I want to maybe go into the lot and grab my morning coffee, I have to not only think about who's behind me, but who's in front of me. And because I won't be able to see who's on the other side until I approach the tracks. And so I don't know if there's any comments that you can share from the planning commission, if there are more conversations about that. Because I would say that we should only have, that should not be an entrance, either not have an entrance there on West Liberty into this property, or maybe add barriers like what we see on Live Oak Boulevard heading out towards Yuba City, where they put that metal barrier there to control traffic only being one way to go into that lot.
As you go into a project, you think of these kinds of things, and the traffic engineer did analyze this kind of stacking and sight distance that occurs in those locations. And I was surprised actually, but there are no conflicts and there's adequate stacking, both coming into the site on West Liberty and also exiting. Even if trucks are turning from West Liberty, that there's adequate stacking based on the traffic counts that were done.
So when you say stacking, what do you mean by that? Like visibility?
I'm sorry, it means how many cars, yes, I apologize. It's how many cars are going to be at rest at the light on West Liberty from this corner or the tracks, the rail tracks.
So that's coming towards the west. What about
Going east, the same,
going east?
west and east, we're fine.
But how did they even measure the east? Because there's no light.
You mean going west? West, there's a light at West Liberty and 99.
No, right, but I'm saying if I'm coming from, say, Randy Smith Produce and crossing towards the highway, my visibility is also very limited. So I won't be able to see what car, or if there's pedestrians coming in. I'm just concerned about visibility because it is elevated there. So and you're saying that this is going to potentially be an entrance and an exit for big trucks.
Yes, it would
So
be.
I could see that just being a safety concern, and having accidents, or either a vehicle hitting a pedestrian or two cars hitting each other, because one's trying to go in from one side and one's crossing over the tracks to go in as well.
But that's a question for the whole area. This is not just particular to West Liberty. You're talking about Richards Road right now and the narrow roads and some of the residents. I remember a resident coming over to talk about or ask about traffic management. It's tough in that area. And you think also about the when agricultural work starts. There's always those events, those vehicles, farm equipment
Mhm.
that goes from one field to the other. There's always that congestion. I think it's an issue for the whole area, not just particular to West Liberty.
My thoughts on it or experience at that intersection, and Chief, you can tell me if it's been since I retired. Even when FEMA was at their height, we would have a lot of cars stacked up at that light.
Yeah.
And we never had anyone coming over the tracks and hitting, hitting the cars that were stacked up to the light, which would be the same thing as somebody turning into that intersection.
We also had, I don't know, 100+ trucks an hour going through there. When they
Yeah,
were
and I don't think that
dumping
was,
rock into that site, and we never had one issue. And I think I cannot fathom that this site would have over 100 trucks an hour coming through that would be.
I could see it being busy in the morning for coffee, because that's something that is a great need is, we just have Starbucks. I anticipate a lot of people using that coffee vendor as their stop in the morning. And so that would be my concern, because I know I've been in a rush in the morning. You just want to get in and get out. And sometimes you're just like, I'm gonna just hope that no one's there and turn in. And
but
I just fear that there's gonna be an increase in collisions there.
you should be able to see a car, even, unless it's really slow sports car coming up on the tracks, you should be able to see the top of that car that there's someone stopped
Yeah.
right on the other side of the tracks. And then it's just you're required to be due caution when you're coming up, not just fly over.
I don't know. I think being a commuter, being young, you're on your phone, it's early morning. You're distracted.
Age limit for turning.
General, I see other people do that too, right? And that's how accidents happen.
Absolutely.
Put the bond away.
This particular property now already has an exit off of it in this exact location. To think
Oh, they
about
do?
that now. It's already there. It's been there since Max Walter.
But we haven't seen any traffic though. And now you
Max Walter
have,
Diesel
Have a trucking.
mechanical operated
Oh.
water trucks out of that corner facility.
but it's been years though since we've seen, since residents have experienced traffic coming in out of there,
FEMA, yes.
or since FEMA.
Since FEMA, that would be the high point of semi truck car traffic would be when FEMA was building that site, which would far exceed any other traffic count coming in and out of the facility, even with the building of this facility.
I just wanna say, that's my main concern. I think overall, it's a great idea with the coffee shop. It's something that we need in the store, but unfortunately, the traffic is of concern for
I
me.
got one solution,
Yeah.
drinking coffee.
No.
Yeah, or set up your own, yeah.
Little K-cups, Keurig.
Any more discussion on this item? Public discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it would be an appropriate time to acknowledge having received written comments from Mr. Coughlin in opposition to the project. I do believe that council members have received copies of same, and this will be turned over to our recording secretary to be included in the minutes of meeting.
Okay, I'll look for a motion on resolution.
Community.
Oh, pardon?
Oh, community comments?
He did,
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry, I didn't catch that.
Anybody got thoughts?
This is the project engineer.
Okay.
Good evening, it's Julio Tinajero from Milestone Associates. With the project, firm on the project. Yeah, so a couple concerns were brought up, as was mentioned, again, it was the comment that was brought up by and also our traffic engineer, because we had the same concern, but all studies showed, and as mentioned, it was previously used for that purpose, so it all passed, and so we were good with that, but we didn't, but one thing I wanted to make a point is that you drive that every day. The site's a little bit low, but we're raising it up a little bit also just to make it easier to get in. Like you said, the trucks, you can go in and out already. So, but a little bit more elevation might alleviate some of that line of sight if you're concerned about it, although our traffic engineer said,
Right there by the railroad tracks, you're gonna raise it up, so.
yeah, just a little bit. So if you look at it, the entrance was a little bit further toward the entrance, but they're making this, in this layout, you'll see we kind of moved it as far to the west as possible. So, but it still works as far as line of sight. I'm just saying the visibility, we're actually improving it than what it was even back when it was in operation. So,
You're saying you're gonna raise the site, not the road.
yeah, we can't raise the road. That's not our property. But not as far as grading that. The question was brought up about STA. If you look at that truck exhibit, I believe there's an actual little truck.
Oh, really? Is there? I was wondering.
Yeah, it shows all on that tree. I don't know if you can move to it. It actually shows like the that truck.
Detail.
And that's, again, like you mentioned earlier, we're not projecting, yeah, see there.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yes.
So to tell you how the length of that truck is, we're not estimating this to be, a big old truck depot. We're gonna have a lot of these trucks, but we wanted to allow that to happen just in case trucks did having to come up. I mean, you guys know 99, how many big trucks go on, but it's not like a major thoroughfare. I mean, usually they're going that up 5 or, but if they do come up 99, we want to make sure they have, if they do come to the facility, that they can enter without having conflicts. So we had our traffic engineer go back, run the routes, and then we found that if we want to have STAs, then we have to widen it, the driveways from 45 to like 72 feet. So it's wider, that way it's come in and out, no problem. Again, making it easier for them to get off the street and to the side as quickly as possible without causing any conflict with traffic. As far as the truck route, now Liberty is not currently a truck route by Caltrans, but we confirmed this with them and they'll provide writing that anything 1,000 feet in either direction of the intersection is considered a truck route.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
this will be, even though it's not designated truck route, they'll allow the trucks to exit and to get into the 2 parcels. And I don't know if it's yeah, you can go correct with the chief.
So 1,000 feet
1,000 feet
from the center intersection?
1,000 feet from the intersection.
Yeah.
Would that
1,000 feet is quite a way.
would that incorporate the entrance to the industrial?
Yeah, well, that would incorporate at least through Randy Smith Produce and Industrial Park.
Okay.
Because when they put in the industrial park, the whole purpose to that initially was for that to be a truck style entrance. Currently, Southern Manufacturing is in and out of there with, based upon the characteristics that I'm looking at on the Caltrans website for STAA trucks. They currently have California legal and STAA trucks coming in and out of there on either low bed,
Okay.
box van, doubles. The only thing that California is not allowing is a triple. Okay, so under a California legal, it's up to 65-foot max.
Oh, wow.
On a STAA, it has to do with from the kingpin to the rearmost axle. It doesn't necessarily have a limitation on the length size, but the semi-trailer can't be any more than 48 feet on one instance or 53 feet on the other. However, again, it's 2 different classifications under what's considered STAA and what's considered California legal singles or double. And then looking with that, the design on the FEMA park entrance meets those requirements from what I'm seeing.
Okay.
With what I saw with the rock trucks coming and going from the FEMA side entrance, that's the reason why they made it a little bit wider and designed the curb was so that the turns were much easier. Because previously that road was much narrower when it was originally in there. And I think that particular entrance is, I want to say it's a 30-foot roadway or 35-foot. I haven't been out there to double check, but it's wide enough to where you can park a semi truck on either side and still have pretty good traffic.
Wow.
Right, so to make the driving wider again and kept the truck in their actual lane and didn't have to go across into the other opposing lane to make the turn. So they're actually staying in their lane to make the turn. That's why the driving is wider. So that helps as far as safety. One other thing I wanted to show on the site, and can you put that up for me? Is one question was the trucks are going to come in from the south driveway and they can exit the north driveway, or they can come in the north driveway, south driveway. But we also did run a truck path that shows that they come in from the north southbound and they enter that north driveway, they could actually loop around and exit back onto the north driveway.
Yeah, right there, yeah, loop it right there,
Yeah, they
okay,
do make that-
okay, make that, okay.
Yeah,
That was what
it's tight. We did run it though, and actually did,
Okay.
because again, remember the canopy is, that big square is actually above the big canopy. So you
Right.
can actually-
So you're saying you can go right on around parallel the highway and come out?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to do that. So we were not estimating a lot of people to do that because most trucks that come in southbound, they're gonna want to continue southbound.
Sure.
And if you're going northbound, they're gonna want to go north. But in a rare case, I guess if somebody wants to make the UE and go back, they have the opportunity.
I think something to think about too is if you take into consideration the former Schiffer Brothers Trucking, which is now Grease Monkey.
Mhm.
Okay, their entrances are actually, they have 3 distinct entrances on there. One of them is slightly larger than the other 2. However, theirs are still smaller than what they're proposing.
Oh, really?
So we haven't had any issues with egress or ingress to Schiffer Brothers, but it's got a 2-way left-hand turn lane. And there's space for them to move around as designed in the front of their facility for the trucks coming in and out of where they do their lube oil filter changes, their tire shop. It's offset back off, just like these things are offset back off further off on the property to allow for trucks to come in and not necessarily affect the flow coming off the highway. That's how what I've personally seen on these particular sites.
So
Interesting.
you're saying that semis can enter through West Liberty, correct?
They can,
Not just and exit.
yes.
So I guess I just thought of another scenario if, because I do this all the time, turn, or I'm heading north and I turn left on West Liberty. And that stop sign, that lane is so short that it goes into the train lane into Hollis Lane. What if you have a semi that's gonna take that turn signal there and then traffic starts to back up? Where would cars need to go? Where would cars heading southbound to go into Hollis Lane go? Because I could see that being a problem, because it would need to be, does that make sense? I wish I had like a whiteboard.
Yeah,
Cause it's
Hollis Lane is further south of this location, but it has a 2-way left-hand turn lane that comes when you come into town.
yeah.
2-way left-hand turn lane does have a area of stopping within the Hollis Lane in and of itself. Currently, if the truck was going to be making a left westbound turn off of Highway 99, there's enough room for 1 semi. You'd have to leave the open space for the left-hand turn or eastbound turn onto Hollis Lane from that location. Now, that's where the 2-way left-hand turn lane should come into play, where if the people follow what is if they follow the rules, they follow what's there, then there won't be any problems. Okay, it's all about people's driving habits.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all about people's driving
Or
habits.
when it's a foggy day and
We can.
visibility
What
and
if
whatever.
the scenario all you want, the fact of the matter is, if it's a foggy day and people need to slow down and take these things into consideration, because even though the speed limit is 45, that's the maximum speed limit for the roadway. That's not the safe speed limit. The safe speed limit is what the traffic conditions tell you they are. Okay, just because it's 45 doesn't mean it's safe to drive 42. Just because it's 65 doesn't mean it's safe to drive 65. It's all weather traffic condition present. Because the safe speed can be 0 in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. Because that's what the traffic conditions are present. That's why those are speed limits, not anything other than that is the maximum speed limit, not the safe speed limits. 2 different things. So the safe speed limit in the condition that you're referencing, if they're parking there and somebody needs to turn in, the safe speed limit would be for the person behind them is 0 stopped to allow for that traffic flow to come off the highway. But again, that all comes back to what people have in their mind and what they do. They're going to obey the law, they're going to obey the law. If they're not, there's things that can be done about it.
Okay, and then 2 last points I want to make really quick. One was the curb gutter and sidewalk is as conditioned. We're going to install it along the whole frontage, although it's not really connected to the north or to the west.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to, eventually, but we are going to do it now, and that's the condition, which is obviously a big ticket item. I just want to end by saying that the applicant of this project is local. It's owner operated, so it's not a big corporation that you're not going to know. You'll know them. They're gonna be working this location, they have other locations, so they know business. If you look at some other locations, they're well cleaned, kept up, they have no complaints. They're gonna invest millions of dollars in this.
Who is that?
We're sitting here. So the owners are represented here. So
What
there's.
other locations do you have? Or do they have? Sorry. I'm not familiar with you. Sorry. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So me and my brother-in-law own the Gridley in an RV park here in Gridley. We own it for 18 years now. And my first business was Fast Track. We own it for 20 years. And my brother-in-law owned a couple other service stations. They own one in the Las Melenas for 22 years, one in Olivers for 25 years. And so we purchased a property in Corning, 16 acre. We wanted to build that property, a hotel and an RV park. But as we have a business here, I'm a single mom, we wanted to build a property where we already have business. So that's why we're building this property first. So we already have a lot of successful business. My brother-in-law owns 5 gas stations, so that's what we wanted to build. Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
One comment I've got on the project that I think is gonna be a big benefit is right now, the only place that semis can get in to get gas really is Fast Track.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of times when like the rice haulers will come in, the back of their trailers are sitting out in the street.
Yes.
You know, not anything for you guys, but because the drivers don't come in at the right. And then now this is gonna alleviate the problem because they've got somewhere they can get off the street and now you don't have that hazard of a trailer sticking out, blocking the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Blocking you.
Good point.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's right. Your service station's the only one.
So, any other questions for?
Thank you.
Thank you.
More comments to the council? Any more public comments? Your motion to approve this project.
A motion to,
But we do have a public.
Okay.
comment.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
apologize for the interruption. He's muted.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Ms. Coughlin.
Hey, Pat Coughlin, Gridley. Oh gee, you keep changing the screen. Just a minute here. Okay, I hope you've got the comments I submitted and have had a chance to read them. I'm afraid you're missing the safety issue right there. The safety issue is not at 99 at West Liberty. It's at West Liberty and the first, the southern entrance to the facility, which is about 40 feet from the railway tracks. And anybody that knows West Liberty knows you come up to those railroad tracks eastbound and you can't see right over the other side of the tracks. And it's with allowing a left turn from eastbound West Liberty, you're going to create vehicles to stop and then back up traffic across the tracks. The main problem with that is if you look to the right, there's a big hole. There's no place to go. So you can't go off to the right if you see a train coming. And also, if those vehicles are stopped, it's because there's traffic westbound on West Liberty, which means you can't turn there. So you're stuck in those tracks. And that's a dangerous situation because in a lot of traffic, vehicles are going to come up behind you and pin you in. So that's the main safety issue I see right there, is allowing left turns out of the southbound ingress egress, left turns to go east to 99, and allowing left turns from westbound West Liberty, eastbound West Liberty, northbound into the facility. If you take those out, it's potentially safe. There's much easier ways to solve that problem. One is to reverse the flow of traffic from southbound, from north through the facility out south to through in south and out on the north end, or to change the location of that coffee shop. So these are safety issues. Now, so that's my concern is the safety issue. Along with that is your planner has already told you there's already $1 million problem there to be solved, potentially $1 million problem. This issue and this design will add to that. Now you've got a nightmare in terms of how do you solve that problem. Okay, and so I think before you go any further, you should have the answer to that. How do you solve the problem, and how do you integrate the plan with it? And you're leaving that wide open. My concern is you're leaving the city wide open to be responsible for solving that, which that's what the plan has just told you. Okay, that it costs too much for them to do it, so they're going to stick you with the bill. I don't think that's right. I think you should, until you've thoroughly reviewed the three-dimensional issues of the traffic safety plan at that location, plus the costs to resolve it before approving this project, or require the developer to come up with make simple changes to his layout to resolve the issues. It is within his power to resolve the issues. He's choosing not to take it. He'd rather have you on the hook to spend all the money. I don't think that's right. So I think you should resolve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I motion to vote on these as separate measures.
I need a second.
No second.
It's been,
Correct me if I'm wrong, there's only one measure to vote on, correct?
There's only two actions for the city council. That is, the first one is to adopt resolution 2023 R001 to amend the general plan and adopt the mitigated negative declaration. And the second one is to adopt ordinance 843/2023 of the introduction and first reading by reading of title only. Those are the two actions for the city council.
so we need two different votes. Right?
Yes, you could do it either way. You could do it as one motion, or you can do them separately.
Let's start all over again. We'll throw out resolution 2023-R-001 for the
I motion to approve resolution 2023-R-001, a resolution to amend the general plan land use designation from industrial to commercial and to adopt a mitigated negative declaration.
I'll second.
we have that second. Take a vote.
Okay. Councilmember Sanchez,
No.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
and Mayor Park.
Yes. Okay, moving on to ordinance number 843-2023. Do I hear a motion for that?
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance number 843-2023.
I have a second.
No second.
Been approved and seconded
Okay.
or motion?
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
and Mayor Park.
Yes. Okay. Moving on. Item number 7.
Mayor and council, at the request of the proponency to planner Decker, it's been requested that item 7 be continued until next meeting.
Yes, correct.
So
That would be, I think it's February 6th.
This is the orchard.
Yeah, February.
This orchard 1 and 2 property.
It's the project before you is actually the tentative subdivision map.
Oh.
And then I bring a lot of information so you can see the entire project, but the action is a tentative map.
Okay, we're postponing that for now.
Yes, please continue it.
Okay, move to number 8.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as has been the case since the inception of our contract with NCPA, it is necessary for the council to formalize the appointment and designation of its primary and alternate, both to the commission itself, in which Councilmember Sanchez has served in this past year as 2 years as the commissioner to the NCPA. This particular resolution offers some changes, and those were made to give our new utility director the opportunity to support representing the city of Gridley's efforts on NCPA. They would specifically propose to appoint him the LEC Lodi Energy Center Project Participant Committee voting representative on behalf of the city of Gridley, as well as appoint him to the Facilities and the Pooling Committee with Council Member Sanchez and Mayor Farr continuing to serve in their current capacities as the primary commissioner and alternate. And in the unlikely event that our utility director, Mr. Carter, was unable to attend on any given occasion, it's a pretty simple matter for us to name an alternate for those meetings.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the public?
I'm here.
Do I hear a motion for adopting resolution number 2023-R-003?
All motion to approve or accept resolution number 2023-R-003.
Second.
A motion and second it. We get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Farr,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Item number 9.
Yes. Mayor and Council, thank you very much. This matter is brought to you by me today. And with your permission, I have prepared for use by the Parks and Rec Department's updated and comprehensive participant waiver and release forms that will serve to better insulate the city against claims of liability by those who may enjoy our facilities but happen to get hurt while using them. You will recall, and there's a closed session item that I'll be discussing with you briefly shortly, of a liability claim that was brought against the city owing to an allegation of dangerous public condition of property because somebody slipped on a soggy field, a sports field. Within the discovery of that and other issues related to our Parks and Rec, it became apparent that the city wasn't using such waivers, or if they were, none of us were able to find them anywhere, which led us to believe that this is something that, if it had previously been used, it has gone by the wayside. So I prepared some updated ones, and with your permission, I would recommend to the city manager, as well as the finance director and the Parks and Rec director, as a policeman, that these be implemented for use right away. There are 2 different forms. One of them is intended to be signed by a representative of perhaps a group renter or an organization that rent facilities or arranges with the city to use on a continuing basis, such as a softball league, our facilities. And then similarly, there are individual forms for participants, both adult and minors, that can be signed and then should be kept, I would submit on file, so that in the event that there is an incident, that the city is protected, both in the form of having a release as a condition of being allowed to participate in the activity, and then as it relates to a group that formally engages with the city in order to use on a recurring basis, just to make sure that we've got appropriate insurance and things of that sort on behalf of the city to protect it by these organizations that might be wishing to use our facility. This doesn't require a resolution. This is simply my bringing you something that on my investigation suggests best practices, suggests that we move forward right away and implement it.
It's been on my mind a little bit because I tend to use that, I go there and eat lunch. And because we have such a good facility there, Vieira Park, it's, people come from out of town to use that and have their family picnics or whatever a lot of people use. How do we protect ourselves against people that just show up from Corning or wherever to use our facility?
Well, if it's just a random person that shows up and wants to enjoy your park, I'm not sure that you really can. That's not what these are intended to protect against. Rather, these are forms that would be used in conjunction with city-sponsored activities, such as perhaps a youth soccer league, or as was the case evidently in that suit, there was an allegation that the city had sanctioned this league. Now, whether or not that was actually true or not, that is not subject to discussion any further, but based upon an allegation like that, it would have been appropriate, if that was true, to have forms like these on file, such that the city would have immediately had another layer of liability protection available to it to mitigate risk.
I got just two comments. Number one, individuals, yeah, I can see where, 3 or 4 people, family get together. What if you have a large family or a large non-sanctioned group gets together on a Saturday afternoon and has a big barbecue and whatever? We're not protected there, I don't assume.
I wouldn't imagine so, unless they are renting a facility of yours. Now, I don't know exactly what the extent are of the facilities that Gridley has that are made available for members of the public to use for party rentals and things like that. I know that other cities do have such infrastructure, and that as long as the people in the other instances that I'm thinking about make a reservation with the appropriate staff at Parks and Rec and pay the nominal fee in order to cover the cost of electricity or water or whatever the other deliverable that might be at that facility, the city is covered in that sense. But to your question about what if some family get together unannounced just shows up, again, these are not designed to protect against that. There wouldn't be any way for us to really ever know that that was going to happen, right, unless and until we just see it, Again, these are designed more for structured city sanctioned, city-sponsored activities. People that want to participate in the youth soccer league, or the youth soccer league wants to use the new to be built facilities that will be taking place down there in that sports complex. These would be absolutely the type of forms that we would want to have on file from those various leagues and their respective participating
As a coach, I did had a number of kids who sustained semi-serious injuries.
Yeah.
And I remember that the city would rent the school field for those activities. So liability, and I remember talking to a parent, liability may not be the city, may be actually the school.
In that case, it may very well be because they own that public property.
And it was horrible, cut holes. And the grass, was so grown that you couldn't see the hole, the kids were running. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Especially with the new sports complex.
Exactly. With that coming online, it heightens the reason or the need for the city to have these tools in place.
Now, we have a Little League park out there. Is that covered? Is that part of it?
Yeah, to the extent that it's a formal league, that sounds fairly structured to me. Yes, this would be something that our Parks and Rec director would want to approach those leagues with, especially, here we are in January. I think that's a spring type activity that's probably going to get going fairly soon. These would be the types of things we would want to have those leagues.
So we've had no protection up to this point on the.
That's not entirely correct.
I'm not going to see that's the case. We have to find them.
If this would be an opportunity to clarify, this is an important point to clarify.
So the city has in place, and it's called the park use permit. The park use permit in and of itself lines out the organization that is requesting it by organization name and individual in that capacity. Angel, you're familiar with this. You have filled this out for the use of many of the parks in town. And with the filling out of that park use permit, it's a categorized of what you're going to use it for, date time specific. There is an indemnification clause built within this park use permit that is on the bottom that they sign as to the entity that they're indemnifying the city against, what's in this language here. Now, what that doesn't outline is what the contractual obligations are for the liability insurance. However, I instigated this park use permit with, say, you have the minor league baseball teams, you have the traveling baseball teams, you have the traveling softball teams. They've requested and put in the request for these park use permits over the years. And in consultation with Elisa and other department heads, as well as even Attorney Gallion here, is the fact that we have a set minimum standard for insurance that these entities have to provide to the city for protection for indemnification of the city. Every park use permit that I review has the indemnification clause signed, and before I even approve it, they have to provide their actual insurance waiver with the liability amounts listed that Attorney Gallion brought forth in this.
Good, very good. Yeah.
We have it in place. This is just taking that to the next level.
Yeah.
Because the park use permit in and of itself is more generic for everybody's use. Right. These are more specific to more individual individuals, like Attorney Gallion was referencing. I think that these particular ones he's bringing forth are more geared towards city sponsored, city sanctioned, down to include individual participating members, wherein the current process takes into effect a core organization as to whether or not they're going to need to provide the indemnifications. An example, like, so when they have deal with those markets at the Carapaza, there's not necessarily going to be a need to have a $2 million and $1 million aggregate insurance policies for them to use the park as it was designed, the way it was designed with the groupings in conjunction with the city. So it's not a what we consider a high liability event that is occurring per se. All right, so wherein softball, baseball, or any other activities that level, those are high occurrences of injuries that could occur. All these things are taken into consideration right now and have been since I've been chief, as to specifically the insurance requirements, and specifically to the filling out of the indemnification agreement with the park use permit.
Great, sounds good.
So any questions on that I can clarify?
So just to clarify, this would be the first time we're instituting these type of forms.
I'm not gonna agree that it's the first time, what I'm gonna say is,
Oh.
my.
So we already have these in existence now?
We have a park use permit.
The permit.
That has the indemnification clause built within it.
Oh, it does?
It just does not go that next level to include the insurance and liability requirements. That is my requirement that I brought forth. It's not set in stone and black and white anywhere like this is. But I don't approve the park use permit without it.
Right.
As far as you're asking about, have we ever had participant forms before? Because that's what I prepared here.
Right.
The answer to your question is honestly, if you guys ever had, my investigation couldn't find them. And the investigation of other key staff that would, in my thought process, have access to them, could not lay hands on them either. So that led me to believe, well, regardless of whether or not they've been used in the past or not, we should start using them going forward now, and so I've prepared some appropriate ones that can be used.
And so you're saying that we don't need to approve these, or you're just staff is bringing, or just only bringing these forward for our attention?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, then I think that that's a little, I don't want to say deceiving, but if the staff report says approve, I'm coming in here thinking I'm gonna approve this form. So I think maybe for the future, we clarify if it's for your information, because when I hear or read approve in the report, I assume I'm gonna take a vote. But it sounds like we're not gonna be voting on this.
You can vote on it if you wish to.
Okay, because I just don't know.
This is only to approve the use of the form.
Yeah, that's
not the
right.
content.
Okay. Gotcha, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I was thinking that we're not even voting on this at all.
The content has been ratified by the city. We are.
Yeah, exactly. Your approval as to my ability to tell the staff to go ahead and use these, protect the city.
So I just got thrown off because earlier you said, oh, we're not gonna be approving the form, so I misunderstood.
I said, you don't have to pass a resolution.
Gotcha, okay.
Do we all approve? Okay, we're approved.
All right, very good. Yeah, I wouldn't want you to be left with the thought that I was trying to deceive you. You didn't use that word and
Oh, God.
that went off like fireworks.
That's kind of how I felt with the previous item is, if we're coming in here to approve, then maybe we need to be a little bit more explicit what we're doing with each item.
When a parent signs up a kid for a sports activity, they know there's a risk involved. I mean, there's a risk involved. And I mean, I had a kid who got hit in the face by a soccer ball, pretty hard.
Yeah.
And knocked him down. And then the mother was complaining, she wanted something done with the kid who actually kicked the ball. It's not, this is part of the game. This is part of the game.
If there's no more discussion, we'll move into closed session.
Ladies and gentlemen of the public, thank you for your attendance this evening. The city council appreciates your interest and participation in civic government as evidenced by your attendance here tonight. At this point, however, the city council is going to retire to closed session pursuant to Government Code 54.9, to conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation, that particular case being the case of Miller versus the City of Gridley, Butte County Superior Court case number 21 CV 02975. No reportable action is expected.
Keep coming.